Most people think shadow work is about digging into your past and digging into all the stuff that you don't want to talk about, but it's not like that at all. What shadow work is about taking radical responsibility for who you are and how you show up in the world. You know, we love to look at our light side and we love to talk about all the things that we've been through and our victim work. And we did a great workshop last weekend just releasing that victim mindset. And now it's time to dive into the shadow. Shadow work is about what shows up when you're trying to stay present and yet you don't. It requires things that people don't always want to hear. Facing your shadow is one of the bravest things that you can do. It's one of the ways that you can really begin to harness the power that is inside of you. But we're not digging into the past just for the sake of digging into the past. It's about taking a real look at your behavior. It's about knowing yourself fully. It starts with radical honesty. There's no self-judgment here. It's all about compassion. There's no, shaming or blaming. It's just about the truth. When you allow yourself to see the truth, you get a lot more power than you realize in your own life and over your own life. Think about how you react. Think about what your triggers are. Think about what patterns in your life seem to be repeating themselves. Your shadow is at play during all of that. And we all have our stories. We all have our trauma stories and our victim stories and places where we were taken advantage of or places where it didn't work out. But when you're really brave enough to start taking ownership of what you create in your life, you're ready to look at the shadow. If you're ready to take responsibility and stop blaming, if you're ready to take ownership over your inner world and what goes on in your body, if you're ready to look at where power leaks when, your responsibility is avoided, then you are ready for shadow work. If maybe you've done some before, but we're going to do it a little bit deeper. I'm going to talk to you about ways to really do it. When you take radical responsibility over your life, your behavior, your thoughts, your emotions, your triggers, all of it, then that is where power truly starts to come back online. Awareness alone does not change behavior. We were just talking about this last weekend. Awareness, I may know what's going on. I may know where my triggers come from and why I am the way that I am, but insight without action just becomes a loop. We have all of these ways that we can create movement to unlock repressed things that are held within the shadow. We don't heal our shadows when we keep all this stuff ourselves. We can't heal our shadow by ourselves because there is a part of your shadow that you don't even see. That's the tricky part. So those of us that love to do our own work and think that we're self-healed, you don't see the shadow until you get in relationship, until you sit in circle. And most of us are not in relationships where our shadows are safe to be revealed, talked about, exposed, any of that stuff, which is why we create a circle so that you can do this. Support doesn't weaken you, it stabilizes you. Safe support unlocks you. We're not trying to kill the shadow. There's nothing going away. We're not trying to, get rid of it because you can't. But what we can do is integrate it. What we can do is make it not such a challenging force. The shadow, when left to its own devices, when left to unawareness, when we're not paying attention, it's running in the background and people see your shadow even if you think they don't. Shadow work's not about your past. You can't integrate what you can't admit. Responsibility brings your power back online. Extreme ownership, being able to look at your dark side. And I'm not talking about your dark side because it's always not evil. We think about the shadow being this bad creature that's aggressive and, your fighter. But sometimes your shadow is meek and mild and fawns and hides and does things that we don't really consider to be bad, but they're still protective and they still get in your way and block connection. So the Shadow Intensive is coming at the end of February. If you think you've done shadow work before, I invite you to come do it deeper. We have a few seats left because this is a very small and intimate circle. We want to create spaces where you feel brave enough to dive in. If you're ready, all of this work is inside the Shadow Intensive. Maybe I'll see you there.